NBA season is right around the corner. Man, seems like it's been a while since we had the championship between the Bucks and the Suns. And it's going to be an exciting season coming up. Today, we're here to talk about some NBA bets. Making sure I'm wearing the sweatshirt to get us in show. And I'm going to cover a few things. Mostly the team over-under wins that I really like and will be betting on myself, as well as some division winners and some dark horse MVP candidates. Now, first, obviously, the sites are going to be, the lines will be different, the site by site you use. The three that I use, the lines are pretty much the same, which are actionnetwork.com, premierwagers444.com, and duck77.com. The over-unders, they might differ by half a win or a win, but for the consensus, the lines are pretty much the same. So there are 6 teams I like, and I'm going to go through why. So the first is the Dallas Mavericks, and we look, their over-under is at 48.5 wins. Now, the 2020 season was a shortened one. There were 72 games. Obviously, for this season, it's going back to 82. But with that record last year, they were on pace for 48 wins. So going to hit the under if it had played out. Now, they had a couple of additions with Reggie Bullock and Frank Ntilikina. They had a couple of departures with Josh Reddick and JJ Reddick and Josh Richardson. I actually think the departures are a little bit more significant. But also the Mavs have a new head coach. Jason Kidd is going to be in his first year with the team. There was drama with Rick Carlisle where he ended up leaving. I'm actually a big Rick Carlisle fan, so I think it's a downgrade in terms of head coaching. But one of the reasons I'm really down on the Mavs is they are very reliant on Luka Doncic. And I look at his usage rate. Last year, he had the highest usage rate in the NBA at 35.9%. And the season before, his usage rate was at 36.7%, which is actually the 8th most ever in a season before. It kind of goes in line with the Westbrook from OKC and Harden with Houston, where the offense just flows through them. So if he gets hurt, or if he has to miss back-to-back games, that team looks very different. Now, there are also reports of Luka Doncic smoking hookah in the summer in August, earning the nickname Hookah Doncic. So if he's not in playing shape to begin the season, kind of like what we saw with Nikola Jokic last year, the Mavs are probably going to start out of the gate slow. So I would bet the under on that. I don't think that they're going to get 49 or more wins. The next team, we're going to go to the Toronto Raptors, and their over-under is at 36.5 wins. So last year they finished at 27-45, which was on pace for 30 wins. Now, on the sites that I've gone to, the under is actually plus money. So it's less odds, but I actually think that it's a better bet. Now, some additions they got, Goran Dragic in the trade with Heat, Sam Decker, Scotty Barnes, their rookie from Florida State with the number 4 pick. Departures, Kyle Lowry is huge. He was traded to the Heat, the longest tenured Raptor, but also kind of the heart and soul of that team. Aaron Baines, a Twitter fan favorite, and Rodney Hood. Now, with the Raptors, also Pascal Siakam is going to miss the beginning of the season with torn left labrum. They said he should be ready mid-November, but you never know with injuries like that. And you look at their division, they're with the Nets, the Knicks, the Celtics, and the 76ers. That might be arguably the toughest division in basketball. So I don't feel confident with them winning more than 37 games. So I would bet the under. And this is one of the ones I feel more confident in as well. The next team we're going to look at is the Clippers. So their over-under is 45.5 wins. Now, their 2020 record was 47-25, which put them on pace for 54 wins. So you're saying, Eric, they were on pace for almost 10 wins last year. Why are you so down on them? Well, we look at the additions, Justice Winslow and Eric Bledsoe, 2 guys that are bona fide, role NBA players at this point in their career. The departures, Patrick Beverley, the Pesk, putting it on the team's best player, which is usually their guard. Rajon Rondo, now you're losing 2 point guards that you have that have been veterans in the league, and Patrick Patterson, a good tweener, big man that can shoot the ball. But the reason I'm really down on them is Kawhi is likely missing a good portion of this season, recovering from a partially torn ACL. So they're going to rely heavily on Paul George, Eric Bledsoe, Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, Luke Kennard. They have a very injury-prone team as well. Paul George has his own injuries. Serge Ibaka had to miss time with a neck issue. Nick Batum is about 33 years old. So He's not going to be as consistent. And I kind of think of this as a giveaway year. And this is what I mean. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are signed through the 23-24 season. And they have a player option each worth over $45 million in 24-25. So there's not pressure on them to win this year. They've locked in their two superstars for the foreseeable future. So why risk the health of Kawhi this year if you know you're going to have a long-term commitment for him? And I think that they do play in the best division because I said arguably the Raptors being in the Atlantic, but the Pacific Division, the Suns, the NBA runner-up, the Lakers, who are the favorites to win it all, the Warriors, and the Kings, who I think can play the Clippers well. So for all these reasons, I'm taking the under on the Clippers. The next team is the Grizzlies. Now, their over-under is at 41.5 wins. So basically, they just need to go above 500. You look at their 2020 record, and they were 38-34. They actually had a 43-win pace. They beat the Warriors in the first round of the play-in tournament. Now, I look at some of the additions. They had Steven Adams, great pick-and-roll guy, who should work well with Ja Morant. Jarrett Culver, I'm not ready to give up on him yet. I don't think he was used well in Minnesota. We saw the upside he had at Texas Tech. Chris Dunn and Zaire Williams, their first-round pick. Departures, they lost Jonas Valanciunas, who had a career year last year. I do think that he is going to regress a little bit. Eric Bledsoe, they got into trade and they ended up flipping him. And Juancho Hernan-Gomez, who they ended up flipping as well. But the reason I really like the Grizzlies is the depth they have. Steven Adams, Kyle Anderson, Dylan Brooks, Brandon Clark, Chris Dunn, Jarrett Culver, Jaren Jackson Jr., John Morant. They're actually one of the youngest teams in the NBA as well. So on these back-to-back games, they're going to have the ability to play these younger stars when teams like the Lakers or the Nets might be sitting their superstars out because they have bigger eyes for a championship and want to play a little bit more conservative. So for all these reasons, I really like the Grizzlies over. The next team, the Bulls. Their over-under is at 42.5, and I really can't believe it considering the makeover they had this offseason. Their 2020 record was 31-41, so look, it's a 35-win pace. Maybe that's why the bar is a little bit lower. But I look at the additions they had. DeMar DeRozan coming over from the Spurs, Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, who's a good grit and grind guy. Derek Jones, I think, is a little bit underrated. Most people probably think of him as just a dunker, but I think he's a good 3-and-D guy that will fit in well coming off the bench. The departures, Lauri Markkanen, I don't think is really that huge. I don't think he really had a role in Chicago. Thaddeus Young, a reserve player at this point in his career, and Thomas Satoransky, really the last piece that they had from the Jabari Parker trade. Now, part of the reason I like the Bulls is obviously the improved roster, but they're also the sixth youngest team in the NBA because Nikola Vucevic is their oldest player at 30. So keep in mind, they're actually going to have him for a full season as well. And they're in a division with the Pistons and Cavaliers, who they're going to see 8 times during the year. Figure they win at least 5 or 6 out of them. So that's something that you like, playing easy teams. And the last is the Timberwolves. Their over-under is at 35.5 wins. Last year, they went 19-45, which was a 24-win pace. You look at the additions, Patrick Beverley and Taurean Prince. You're getting improved defense. Departure, I think they got rid of Jarrett Culver too early. That's kind of, a wasted first-round pick. Ricky Rubio, who seemed to have his career revived a little bit, and Ed Davis. Now, with the Timberwolves, they just don't seem to have consistency. Gerson Rosas is out as their general manager. I never like when there's drama with a team starting the season out. And they're going to be really reliant on Karl Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell, and Anthony Edwards. But health hasn't always been in favor of Cat and Russell. In 2019, Cat played 35 games, and in 2020, he played 50 games. Now, keep in mind, he's been impacted by COVID too, more than most people. Unfortunately, he did lose his mom because of that. So he might not feel comfortable if there's a breakout or if he gets COVID, he might want to take some time to recover from that. D'Angelo Russell in 2019 played 12 games and last year played 42. So once again, health has not always been in their favor. Those are the over-unders I like for the season. Now, obviously, there's 30 teams out there, but those are the ones that I feel most confident about that, once again, I am personally betting as well. I would never put a video out there and not buy my own picks. But there's a couple other things, as mentioned at the beginning of the video, and those are the division winners. And the first I like is the Grizzlies at plus 450. Now, if you look in their division right now, the Mavericks are the favorite, But as I mentioned with the Mavericks under, they were very reliant on Luka Doncic. And I think if Luka gets hurt or if the Mavs come out slow, the odds are really going to change. Now, you look at the other teams in the division, the Rockets are going through a rebuild, which they're probably going to be in contention quicker than I thought. They were able to flip Harden and get some good pieces. I like Jalen Green and Sagoon to build around along with Christian Wood, but I don't think that they're in serious contention this year. The Spurs are in their own rebuilding this year with getting rid of DeMar DeRozan. There are rumors that this is going to be Pop's last year, so they're probably grooming a new head coach. And the Pelicans, who aren't going to have Zion Williamson to begin the year, and I was got a bit confused with their offseason there. So I think the Grizzlies at plus 450 is great value. And then I really like the Heat at minus 125. Now, I know that this is having to spend more as opposed to the others where it's kind of even money or, maybe minus 110 or 115. But I look at the division. Orlando's not going to win. They actually have the lowest over-under at 22.5. I don't think the Wizards are going to be in contention this year. I think they're kind of in a transition period. The Charlotte Hornets, I don't think are going to be in contention either. So it's really between the Hawks and the Heat. And one of the reasons that I really like the Heat coming back this year is I think last year was a fatigue year. And what I mean is it was the shortest turnaround. I think it was 71 days between the finals and when the regular season started. So teams like the Lakers and the Heat had the shortest turnaround between any of them. And there were reports that Pat Riley, who is known as a grinder, had told people to take a break, take a mental break. And I think the Heat are going to come back this year. I think they have a better roster. They should have Victor Oladipo for more of the time. I expect a big step up from Bam, Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry. I think they are shoo-ins to win the division, and minus 125 is great value. Now, for MVP candidates, I really like James Harden at plus 2,000. You figure MVP is going to go to somebody that is on a team that's favored to get the most wins. And the Nets and Lakers are two out of the three teams that are favored to get the most. We don't know what's going to happen with Kyrie Irving with his vaccination status. So it's really going to be on James Harden and Kevin Durant. Now, Kevin Durant has very good odds. It's like plus 400. So this is more of a long shot, but we've seen James Harden have high usage rate. We don't know what the offense is going to look like. It might run through him as he'll be the primary ball handler. And the second is Russell Westbrook, another guy with a huge usage rate. I love the odds at plus 2,500 on there. He's the youngest out of the big. Actually, he is the second in the middle between LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Russell Westbrook. But I think he has something to prove. He's coming back home to play. This is his fourth team in 4 seasons. The Lakers have the best odds to win the championship, and he has the worst odds out of the big 3 on there to win the MVP. So once again, these aren't my favorites to win it, but I like the value. You know, if you can place $10 to win 200 or 250, I like the value here. So those are my picks this year. Look, am I going to be right? We'll have to see. I did pretty well last year. I do a lot of research into these picks. I'd really love to hear your guys' thoughts. Do you think that there are any others I should look at? Do you agree or disagree? Did you end up placing some of these bets? Let me know. I'd love to hear. Thank you for the support. Make sure you check out some of our other videos on the Triple Play YouTube channel, and we'll catch you next time.